reintroduce myself.
You are now tuning in to the Snap Call Podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 4. We got the skeleton crew today. It's me, Xavier.
And I'm Ice.
And it's just going to be us today. No Hector, no Fernando. Fernando's got some... A fun thing about Fernando, actually, right off the rip, he's in the Army Reserve, so shout out to Fernando. He's doing some extra training this week, and then Hector's under the weather, so we're holding it down for Hector. So just us two today running the ship. Cool thing, though, is, me and Ice were the original 2 for Snap Call, which back in the day was called Snap Call Poker. It's just going to be us from the beginning on this stream. So excited, got to get a couple things to cover. Let's jump right into it, huh?
Yes, sir.
But let's see. So this past weekend, we had the 5th annual Global Poker Awards. It was being aired on Poker Go, and it was also on YouTube as well. So not going to go over all the awards. I'm not sure if you had a chance to actually watch it. I watched it sporadically yesterday and today. I did watch the whole thing, but it was interesting. I think it was filmed at the Poker Go studio. But did you get a chance to catch anything? What were your initial thoughts?
I caught a little bit of it. It's pretty cool. Anytime you can actually get awards for poker, it's pretty awesome. It's a growing... It's not really a sport, but it's a sport. So it's good that poker players get recognized for the work they do. Because believe it or not, it's a grind. It's like playing sports, You tournaments, you're grinding hours after hours. You're flying out to different states, different countries, competing, just so you can get nominated and be able to win an award like that. So I think it's awesome that they show recognition to players that deserve it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I thought it was cool because I learned and saw a lot of players that I'm not used to. While as much as I like to think I know a lot of players, I do oftentimes kind of stick to more of the mainstream guys. So came across some players that I would have normally come across if it wasn't for a show like that. Came across, we talked about it, some of the streamers and the vloggers that I may not already be subscribed to YouTube, and I made sure I did that today. So I thought that was cool overall. We got a couple awards here that I wanted to cover, some that I just thought were interesting. And again, a couple of players that I hadn't heard of. Right away, we had Casey Castle won the Hendon Mob Award. The guy cashed he got the award for having the most cashes in the most countries. 50 different countries he has cashes in.
That's so sick. Casey Castle, much props. Man, cashing, just going to 50 different countries is amazing. And you cashing in those 50 is awesome. Keep it up and keep adding stamps to that passport. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I mean, we're talking when, we'll be lucky if we have, 2 countries by the time we stop playing poker, right? To have 50 countries and your Hendon Mob is absolutely insane. I think even some of the biggest poker players in the world may have 3, 4, 5 maybe. Clearly, this is a goal of his to do 50. There's 195 countries in the world. And not only has he visited at a minimum of 50, but he's cashed in about, 25% of the countries in the world. So that's pretty sick. Kudos to Casey. Bert Stevens, 2023 Streamer of the Year. I'll be honest, the first time I heard of Bert was this past October when he won the GG Poker WSOP online main event. But prior to that, I hadn't watched any of his streams. I used to stream a lot on Twitch. Obviously, we stream on Twitch now. But pretty cool that, they even have an award for a streamer. I think it just kind of shows how, poker has evolved over the years.
Yeah, it evolved a lot. And I don't really know too much about Stevens. I watched him a few times. Honestly, the Streamer of the Year, in my opinion, that I like. I'm not saying that Stevens didn't deserve it, but I like Ryan DePaulo when his American Card Room streams. He just, he's a great personality. He makes me laugh and stuff like that. So he's a pretty good streamer as well too. But yeah, Stevens, when he won that tournament, that big tournament, that GG Poker 5K, it was pretty sick too to watch it stream as well too. So big props to him. Much deserved.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, Ryan DePaulo. I learned about Ryan DePaulo from Hector. Ryan DePaulo, dude's just hilarious. Like even if you're not just watching for the poker content, the guy's just funny. Likes to table talk, likes to have a good time. Those are always fun. That's kind of why I started watching Boski. Boski to me was just it was interesting in between hands or in between breaks. His hand breakdowns were just absolutely hilarious. And then he's obviously a good player too. I like watching people like Boski because you kind of feel like he's the everyday player. But he's out there and he's just like
in the Venetian tournament, right?
Yep. Yeah, we played with Boski in a Venetian deep stack tournament a couple summers ago. I had a chance to meet him. Guy was super cool. Boski literally looked at me right in the face, and Boski was basically like, "Hey, like neither of us are gonna win this, right?" Like, like dude basically tore my dreams down right there and then. He basically said something along the lines of, the probability of any of us winning this is very unlikely, and I think he followed up a good luck from me with that. So it was kind of like, this is why I follow you in the first place. So it was a very Boski response, but shout out to Boski and Ryan DePaulo for sure. Two content creators that I don't think necessarily were recognized at the award show, but probably should have got some more props than they did.
For sure.
So, Jamin Burton won the best vlogger. He beat out Corey, D-Negs, Brad Owen, and Alexander Sept. Drawing Dead vlog. So it's funny because Hector had mentioned last week, right? He had mentioned, Jamin Burton was someone that he really liked to watch his streams. I think at the end of the day, like, he's a good streamer. What's funny is when he mentioned Jamin Burton before, it didn't click to me. Drawing Dead vlog. That's how I knew him. I don't know why I didn't think of Jamin Burton, but I knew Drawing Dead vlog, and again, another person that Hector put me on. But yeah, really good content. Wolfgang Poker has really good content as well. Obviously, I would have liked D-Negs to win just because he's the main person I watch. But I think it made sense for maybe not the biggest person to win, someone that probably came across as a little bit more relatable.
Oh yeah, big shout out to D-Negs, Brad Owen, Andrew Nemi, Rampage, Mariano, Ryan DePaulo. Few guys too that are coming up. Lexo Poker from South Florida as well too. He got good vlogs as well too. And Kyle Fisher, he streams a lot in Orange City. Not that big right now, but you guys need to go follow him.
Yeah, no, shout out to those content creators. Content creating game is an animal in itself. And to consistently do it, and then to not only do it, but then to play poker and be committed to that grind. They're both the grind. So shout out to all those people putting those hours in.
Personally, when I play, it's like my buddies tell me, hey, record a little bit and stuff like that. But usually when I get a good hand, the last thing I want to do is put the phone on to record and stuff like that. So big shout out, big props to them for doing it too, and keep it up because it's bringing more players into poker.
Absolutely. And we get to live vicariously through them, right? Like when those days we aren't playing, like we're on YouTube, we're living through these players, right? Like oftentimes, when I'll watch Boski or whoever, I'm sitting there like, man, could I make that call or would I have made that move? And it's not to critique them by any means, but it's to say like, hey, like, when I get back to the tables, like, am I doing that same thing as he is, right? So, interesting nonetheless. But those guys, shout out to all those content creators out there. Let's see. So this one was a little bit of a
controversy.
The Poker Stars one. So a lot of people online were like, I didn't even realize the Poker Stars had a live stream. And I guess it's more for their European tournaments that they're running over there. But Poker Stars Live won, beat out Hustler Casino Live, Poker Go, Triton, as well as Poker at the Lodge. So, I mean, obviously we see the Hustler stream all the time now, which has really grown a lot over the past year and a half. We see the Poker Goes all the time. We see the Tritons. Have you ever had a chance to see the Poker Go streams before, or the Poker Star streams before?
I saw one. It was like a tournament, I believe. But like you said, yeah, it's more Europeans and stuff like that. Honestly, I was shocked they were even nominated. Personally, I think right now the Hustler stream is the best stream out right now. I like the Lodge as well too, but the Hustlers like every Monday, every Fridays, give or take. They bring good personalities. The games are good, and I look forward to watching them as well too. Maybe I need to get a little bit more caught up in the European scene and stuff, but I feel like Hustler should have won it. I don't know how much pool Poker Stars has to get the award, but Hustler should have took it down for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think with what Hustler's been doing lately, not even just like busting out the $1 million game last year, they busted out a second one this year. I think it's Ryan Feldman, if I'm not mistaken, does the Hustler stream. He's a director there, and I mean, they're just killing it in the game.
Nick Bertucci, I believe.
Nick Bertucci. So I mean, like, when we think about who was, doing the live streams when we played, pretty consistently, we're talking Live at the Bike was the main one.
Oh, yeah.
Live at the Bike was the main one. Now, I'm sure Live at the Bike still does their games, but you don't hear about Live at the Bike nearly as much as we used to.
Well, think about the Hustler stream. You had that incident with Garrett Alderstein, whatever his name is, and Jackie.
The girl, yeah.
Yeah, the Jack 4, the Jack 4 call, whatever. That was big news in the poker world. And then you also had the Tom Dwan $3 million, what was it, $1 million hand?
The 3.1 mil.
$3.1 million hand. So against Wesley. So that was pretty sick as well too. So I feel like if the stream is getting that much attention, bringing that much as far as like high stakes players as well too, throwing $1 million games, filling up these streams, they should have won. Personally.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think, like you said, I mean, they're creating a lot of buzz with the games that they're running right now. I think the first time that I tuned into a Hustler stream was when these guys were at each other's throats, about to fight each other on stream. So, at the end of the day, however they got to get their viewers, they'll do it. But I think the biggest thing to me is like what started out as a stream, in my opinion, that didn't have a lot of well-known names. People with, that are known in the poker community now are flocking to that stream because they're running the biggest games now.
And you got to look at the numbers too. One time I was watching, it was like 30,000, 40,000 people watching the stream. That's pretty sick to have 34,000 when you're doing a live stream. Because remember, you're not attracting everybody. You're just attracting poker players. So to bring 30, 40,000, pretty much guys that like poker or into poker or play poker, that's hard to do. So that's good numbers there. So big shout out Hustler.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, and as like poker continues to evolve, like I think we're going to see more and more rooms incorporating some sort of like content creator room or some sort of like poker room with like some added technology, whether it's mics, cameras, whatever the case may be, because, that's where it's at right now. Like the room not only becomes more popular, but it almost becomes like a destination.
Oh, yeah.
People want to go like, hey, look, I'm vlogging at every casino in Vegas. I got to go stop at this room. And we'll touch base on an upcoming poker room that's coming up or a new poker room that's coming up. That may do just that, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Toughest opponent, Stephen Chidwick. So this was voted on by the top 100 players on the GPI. Personally, Stephen Chidwick, obviously I've never sat across the table from him, but he does demand a presence when he's at a table. Very tall, big guy. And I think when your peers can vote for you as the toughest opponent, that says a lot in your craft, regardless of what you're doing, right? Whether it's baseball, basketball, football, it's almost like when your teammates or the league is voting you as the MVP. So that's got to be pretty humbling for Stephen Chidwick to be voted as the toughest opponent. In your opinion, who would you, from the outside, right? Who would you choose as the toughest opponent as a viewer?
So I like Alex Foxen a lot. I feel like his game is unbelievable. He's good. Some other ones that weren't nominated that I like is Sean Deep. He's good. And then Macho Barbero as well, too. Argentinian guy. He won He finished, I think he took second place in the Try-and High Roller, $200K for $3.4 million. And then he won another one. He finished second, another one for $2.1 million, another high roller. So you're talking about over $5 million just in those two tournaments. I think he cashed like $7 million this year. He's pretty good as well, too. Obviously, it's more the European scene and overseas, but he's a name to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like when you look at who Stephen Chidwick beat out, right? You're talking Alex Foxen, like you said, Isaac Haxton, who's a beast, and there's a whole controversy right now with him always wearing his mask, and Phil Hellmuth thinks that the final table has got to go, but that's a whole nother controversy. But obviously, very good player, and then you got Jason Kuhn. So 3 players across the board that. Their results speak for themselves, right? If I had to, as a viewer, choose who I'd be more intimidated by, I thought Alex Foxen. I think I'm more intimidated by the fact that he probably whooped my ass. He's a big dude. I actually think his wife's more intimidating than he is. She's a beast, and she actually won the award for on the women's end. She is an absolute killer.
She won Female Player of the Year.
Yeah,
So big shout out to Kristen Foxen.
Yeah, she's an animal. She's so good. And then I think at the end of the day, you have your Phil Ivies, right? The people that like are going to demand respect no matter what, right?
Justin Bonomo.
Your Justin Bonomos. Those guys are going to demand respect no matter what. Yeah, so I think they really nailed it. I personally, if I had to pick someone, it was probably going to be Jason Kuhn. So to see that he was nominated tells me that what his opponents are seeing consistently is what we see as well. So, and then the best standalone series. So I like this because the Win Millions Poker Series won. They beat out the Irish Poker Open, the Malta Poker Open, and then a tournament that we're very familiar with, the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open. So I thought that was cool because you've got these little standalone events, something outside of like obviously the typical series that we're used to seeing, the World Series of Poker. What did you think when you saw the Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open on there?
Amazing. And to be honest, I played in a few of them as well too. We played in a few of them as well too. I played one as recent as a few months ago, and those rooms, this one was in Tampa. These rooms get packed. We're talking about convention rooms, all the tables booked, the wait list, reserves is run pretty good. And it's so much, like, people don't understand. Vegas is like the mecca for gambling and poker. But Florida right now, with the Hard Rock Hollywood and the Hard Rock Tampa, they poker rooms is unreal. So I'm glad that we got the recognition, especially that's our local casinos and stuff like that. So big shout out. Obviously, hopefully, in my lifetime, I can play in all these poker tournaments, the Irish Poker, the Win. Big shout out to all those hotels and casinos throwing up poker tournaments as well too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I felt like semi-proud to see the Hard Rock Poker Open on there. I mean, I remember when we would go to, and I know they're specifically talking about Hollywood, and we'll kind of get into poker in Florida in general here. But I remember when we would go to Tampa and we would play in the Big Slick, these 150K tournaments. Then we'd go down to Hollywood and we would play in these 200K guaranteed tournaments at the old poker, remember, the 2-floor poker room and the old Hollywood. And like you said, I mean, people don't realize that Florida is booming when it comes to poker. Hard Rock Hollywood is absolutely blowing up and adds a lot to it. And even in Tampa too, you got the World Poker Tour stopping by those rooms, running some tournaments, and those tournaments are becoming pretty, worthwhile, I guess you can say, when you're seeing a lot of pros flying in. They're seeing the value that these tournaments provide, and then you can't beat the destination either, right? You're in warm weather, you're on the beach, you're a short drive to Miami, and then there's the availability for flights to be in and out quickly is always there, which is nice.
And we're not talking a raggedy-daggedy casino either. We're talking about the Guitar and the Hard Rock Tampa, which they have live shows, they have everything. So it's a perfect destination to play poker and vacation as well too. And then also, just to show you how big these tournaments are in Florida now, that this says it all. Just the guarantees, they will put out here $400 tournament, guaranteed $2 million. They throw the guarantee out, and it shatters the guarantees, doubles the guarantee. So that's just to let you know how popular it's getting right now in the state of Florida.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool to see it on there at the end of the day. And I guess that kind of brings us into, poker in the Sunshine State, right? And into our next topic as poker in Florida. So talking about specifically that growth in poker, Ice and I have been playing poker long enough here back in 2009, 2008, around there when we first started playing, and we would first go to the poker rooms when the max buy-in was $100.
Yeah.
So imagine going into a casino. We would go to the Hard Rock and we would buy in for $100 at a 5-10 game. And I remember I had a buddy that lived in Foxwoods, and I was telling him I was playing a 5-10 or a 2-5, and he's like he thought I had a bankroll, and he couldn't grasp the idea that I was consistently playing those games. And when I told him that the buy-in was $100,
Max buy-in.
the max buy-in was $100. He's like, wait, what? So eventually, when they raised those limits, that opened the absolute floodgates for poker, and essentially like a poker boom here in Florida. But it was a completely type of game. I mean, you're talking at a 5-10 game, people were pushing very first hand
without looking at the cards.
Or if you had an ace, you're pushing. It was just a no-brainer. So regardless, it's been really cool to see poker kind of grow. What is something you remember on our early trips and early on in our poker career?
So, just how much the Hard Rock Tampa, Hard Rock Hollywood, how many different rooms they actually changed around. So when we first started, when we went the first casino I went to play poker was in Tampa. The casino, the poker room was in the middle of pretty much the casino by the high limit slots now. Then they moved it to behind the food court. And now they build their own poker room, which is amazing. One of the best poker rooms as far as looks and stuff is the Hard Rock Tampa. Then Hard Rock Hollywood, you go from a 2-story, then you go to inside, and then you go to your nice big poker room now that has 45 tables and stuff like that. So it's just amazing how much it grows, and just knowing that they catering to poker players now, having their own section. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they're clearing the floor so they can put more slots to generate more money. But it's good to know that you can play poker and have his own room, has his own snack bar, has everything right there. So that's pretty cool as well too.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Like the very first room we went to, middle of the casino, high room slots, right? And then it was right next to the food court. No bathrooms dedicated to the poker room. And the brush literally backed up to the slot machines. Yeah. Then it moved into behind the food court, and it started growing. Right, they had their own bathrooms, but it still didn't feel like a poker room, like nothing like Vegas. Now the room rivals Vegas poker room. So if you're ever in Hard Rock, or if you're ever in Tampa, definitely go out and go visit the Hard Rock Tampa, because it will rival any poker room you've gone to. It is absolutely beautiful. The dealers, the service, everything's great there.
And honestly, outside of the summer and the World Series of Poker, yes, there's more competition, but Vegas poker rooms, besides the Bellagio is small. A lot of them are hit or miss with the games, not enough tables. Tampa and Hard Rock Hollywood, 24/7, those rooms are packed.
And our history with poker goes back to whether we were working at Rawlings or wherever the case may be. We would get off of work, we'd meet at this area called Champions Gate, which was on the way. So if you live in Central Florida, you know where Champions Gate is. And we would go and we would hop in a whip, leave a car at Publix, and we'd go straight down I-4, and we'd be there till 3-4 in the morning, and we just grind it out, whether it was 1-2, 2-5, whatever the case may be. And I mean, it was that was what we had, right? We had that room, and then we had Daytona. Pretty much the same distance either way. I think there was an allure to go to the casino. The games tended to be a little bit better. But kind of talking about the generous that we were at the time, I think my favorite story, was when we were sitting down playing some 1-2 or 2-5, I don't remember, and I just had gotten that Google Android phone, the very first, kind of like the G2, whatever, G1, G2, whatever the case may be. It was basically Google Android's version of the Kick, whatever.
The Sidekick, yeah.
Sidekick, right? So I remember I had that at the table. I literally had it for a couple days, and the guy was like, yo, I'll buy that off of you, yada, yada. I was already down for the night, so I was like, I'll get my money back. He had a Nokia brick he was going to give me. I was like, you know what? F it. Let's do it. Walked with this dude to the parking lot at midnight, whatever the time it was at the time. And I just remember, I remember him giving me money. I ended up moving the cell phone service over to Nokia. It was probably a 45-minute process, but it was a story that still sticks with me to this day, because I ended up taking the money I made it back, and then I made money on top of that. So, and I kept that brick for a year, like a year and a half after. So it obviously that phone is probably still good, but that's just a story that I'll always remember, that I can always tell.
And then going back, I should have been a better friend and be like, "Hey, man, don't sell your cell phone in the middle of the poker game." But I knew, like, we just degenerates back then. We're just like, he needs to do this. Selling the phone is good luck.
Yeah, and I mean, and it worked out, right? I mean, if it didn't work out, that would have been sad. I would have walked into the casino with $600. I would have walked out with a Nokia. Like, that would have been really embarrassing. But like I said, we had the Hard Rock, and then we had Daytona, and then eventually we started going to Daytona more, and we started playing at that tables. But
the best memory I had, actually, it's when we were in Hollywood. We met up with Gufu and stuff like that, and you guys were playing blackjack. And I wasn't old enough to be on the casino floor, so we had a lady come over. One of the managers, the pit boss, what do you call those? Came over and just pointed me out. A crowd like 20 people just pointed me out, like, "You let me see your ID." So I started arguing with her, like, "I'm not showing you my ID. So you got to get out of here if you're not 21." So that's just to show you how much we've been playing and the good memories we had at these casinos in Florida. Then also, the good thing too is we go from these like small buy-in games, like the 1-2, the 2-5 to the 5-10s, and we saw the change from the $100 max buy-in to now minimum buy-in is $800 or something like that in the 5-10, or $2,000 in the 5-10. So that's good to see too, because before it was just a crapshoot with that $100 max buy-in.
No, it's been nice to see the growth, not just from the game in general with more and more people playing, but like the stakes. It would have never been very sustainable for those games to stay at $100, all the time. But that was inevitable to happen if poker in Florida was ever going to grow.
And we got lucky. Orange City came.
What was that, 2016, 2017, around there? And
I went the first day they opened.
Same. We were both there. Yeah, we were both there. I remember it opened. I mean, that changed the landscape of poker in Central Florida, period. I mean, you're talking, we no longer had to drive an hour and 15 minutes to go to Daytona. We could just drive, at least from where I'm at now, 30, 35 minutes in Orange City. So the room is run by the same management company
As Daytona.
and, as Daytona. So, a lot of the dealers came over, and all those players that were going to Daytona now come to Orange City. And the greatest thing about Orange City is obviously the fact that, like, it's closer to Orlando. We can go there that much more often. But the nice thing about Orange City is, like, it's not just us, right? Like, more people are going that are in Orlando because it's closer. Like, we've seen Russell Westbrook there on multiple occasions when he comes into town and plays in Orlando. So, that just speaks to, like, the ease of access. Before, he used to go to Tampa, so now he's going to Orange City. So it's that much more available to people when they come to Orlando as a destination. Jose Montez, shout out Jose Montez, a poker player that's based out of New York, New Jersey area. He had hit me up one time, and he was saying that he was going to come to Orlando, and he had asked how the action at Orange City was, specifically PLO. So that just speaks to what Orange City has done and how it's changed the poker culture and availability here in Orlando.
And at the end of the day, what makes at least poker players keep going to these poker rooms or casino is how good the games are. And Orange City, 2-5 PLO, 5-5 PLO are great games. A lot of action. And that's what people keep going back, and they sometimes choose that over the Hard Rock Tampa. So big shout out to Orange City, and it feels more kind of like a home vibe. Like the managers, everybody knows each other, so it's kind of like everybody's in a good mood. Sometimes you go to the Hard Rock Tampa or Hollywood, they're so busy, these managers are miserable, so it's like it doesn't feel the same. But Orange City, ever since that came to Central Florida, at least for me, and I live in between. I live in Kissimmee, so I live an hour Orange City, an hour to Hard Rock Tampa. And the majority of the time I pick Orange City just because I love the games way more. And also there's not a 45 an hour wait. So big shout out to Orange City.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And I think the cool thing about Orange City, and like you mentioned, is the home field is like people pull up. Like if you pulled up to Orange City, you're talking like just imagine like a plaza with like a supermarket. Like it is in the most random plaza in a pretty country part of town. And it's like right in the corner. It looks like, it used to be a movie theater, right? So it used to be like right in the corner of this plaza. But it's a big room.
Yeah.
It's 40 plus tables. It's not just a mom and pop room. So like they churn out amazing promotions all the time.
Oh yeah, the high hands are amazing there at Orange City.
High hands, the hourly high hands, then they got the promotions that are running throughout, so like July 4th high hands, whatever the case may be. And now, of course, over the years, they've instituted more table games, and that'll continue to grow for them as well, which is another moneymaker. But the place is 90% poker, which is nice. So it's cool to have a room that's dedicated just to poker, that feels local, and you feel safe going there, If you need, one of them 70-year-old security guards to walk you to your car, they'll help you out. So shout out to Orange City. That's what we like to consider our home room outside of Hard Rock Tampa. So definitely doing big things, and they continue to grow. Hopefully they add some more tournaments down in the future, or do more tournaments outside of like the nightlies. They'll host more tournaments. That'll be really nice.
Yeah. Hopefully they can maybe expand, maybe the building next door, that little golf place, expand, get some more tables going. Because if they're going to host bigger tournaments, they need the space. So that's the only thing missing there is they need more space.
Now, so we talked about how Orange City has changed the landscape of poker in Central Florida, right? But we've had a lot of poker rooms over the years spring up and grow. So just to kind of put it geographically, we're located in pretty much Central Florida, Orlando. Just north is Orange City. Just west of us is going to be Tampa. And then down south, we've got the Hard Rock, right? You have Mardi Gras, you have Hialeah. You have a plethora of options down there, right? You've got Pompano Beach, Harrah's, the Isles. You have a lot of poker rooms down there. So those rooms have been down there for some time.
Coconut Creek, Seminole.
But back in the day, we had the Big Slick. We had, some of the tournament in Hollywood. And now, like we mentioned before, like you're talking World Poker Tour, Seminole Hard Rock Poker Open, which obviously was just recognized on the Global Poker Awards. So poker is absolutely booming. You got the Moneymaker Tour going to Daytona as well.
Yeah,
so
Daytona and Kennel over there in West Palm Beach as well too.
Yep. So you got the World Series of Poker, circuit events coming here too. So I mean, it just speaks to the growth of poker in the area, and it's like a freight train. It's continuing to grow here.
Oh yeah, and big shout out, another honorable mention, poker rooms in Florida. Bonita Springs Poker Room. I think it's Naples Dog Track. I just went in November. Great action. It used to be called Fort Myers Poker Room. Now it's Bonita Springs. So big shout out. Great action. And just a great environment as well too.
That's the one that, and I haven't. I mean, it's been probably like almost 10 years since I've been there. That's the one you take the escalator up, right? Like it's just second floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They changed it now though.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember it was I got there with like an hour and a half of closing, played a couple hands. Action was amazing, but
they moved it to the other side of the building, and it's straight through the sliding door to the left, and you just sign up there. But it's always good action.
Yeah.
Big shout out to the Creek City out there in Fort Myers, always posting chip stacks and stuff like that. Keep it up, man.
Yeah. So if you had to pick, let's say if you had to choose one or two things that you would like to see in the poker scene here in Florida, whether it's larger tournaments, more circuit events, more rooms, whatever the case may be, if you had to pick two or three things, what would you like to see in the poker scene here in Florida?
Honestly, I like to see live streams, because we have the poker tournaments. They have daily deep stacks. They have the Seminole Hard Rock or the Seminole Open. We have the WPT. We have the Heartland Poker Tour as well too. Comes to Daytona. We have a lot of tournaments that come to Florida. The Chris Moneymaker Tour. I just feel like we need higher streams, like high stakes streams in the state of Florida, especially in Hollywood. Hollywood once in a while would throw their streams. but we need it consistently because I feel like we can get these $1 million buy-ins, these $250,000 buy-ins, especially in South Florida. So I feel like they can do a better job of getting a stream going in the state of Florida, personally.
Shout out to Hector in the chat, showing some love. Hector said card 52. Do you mean Club 52? Because we got Club 52 in Melbourne, which is probably one of the worst poker rooms in the state of Florida.
I was there not that long ago. My son had a boxing event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, downstairs, and the poker room was upstairs, and I left him like a degenerate. Hey, I'll be back 5 minutes just to walk around, and it's a dump.
Yeah.
But you got all the retirees that live in Melbourne out there, and I guess the 1-2 game is okay.
Yeah, you would think my wife's from Melbourne area, and you would think with her being from there, and whenever we go, I go there more often, but the room is just not that great. I mean, we're talking, they don't run a game that big. The last time I went there was a couple years ago, and the largest game they ran was a 1-1 uncapped game. Now, granted, it probably played closer to like a 2-5, but the interest list ran for like 30 minutes before the game ran. We're pretty much running a 1-2. I do have a fun memory from that room, though. You remember James? We used to play poker with him when we used to go to Titus and Kedgen's house back in college. He got married out on Melbourne, a beach over there, and I met Gufu, who was at the wedding. So I didn't get invited to the wedding, but I went to go to the wedding. I met Gufu outside the reception. He hopped in my car. This is like 1 a.m, and then we went to go play poker at Melbourne. And then, we just had some drinks, had a good time, and then I came home. But, I mean, it's just, those are kind of the stories that you always remember. So moral of the story, regardless of how bad the poker room is, there can still be good action as long as, or at the very least, you can have a good time depending on who you're with. Hector says, never been, but always wondered. Yeah, I mean, it's, if you were looking for availability of games, you might as well go to pretty much any other poker room in the state.
If you like the smell of wet carpet and like to drink natty ice, go to Club 52.
Yeah.
What can I say?
I mean that, and just like, in general, right? Like if there's no other card room around, sure, kind of makes sense. But he says Mikasuki is a dump card room in Miami, but went there all the time. Well, yeah. See, when you were in Miami and you were playing in Mikasuki, you had the option to go to Hard Rock, and you wanted to stay local. I would have made the 30 or 40-minute drive extra, whatever it was, to Hard Rock, because especially back in the day, I mean, now it's just so crowded. Obviously, you can still have a good game, but, if a Hard Rock's that close to me, I'm going to the Hard Rock.
I believe they opened up a room in Port St. Lucie recently as well, too.
Did they? Huh. I think there was talk about, and maybe it's been open, I don't know. I thought there was making one in Ocala. Could be completely making that up. But Ocala would be a cool place.
I'm pretty sure I saw it on, I think, Lexo's vlog or something like that. He went to go play in Port St. Lucie. So we got to do some research on it. If that's the case, I might take the 1.5-hour trip, the 2-hour trip, and check it out.
Yeah, I got to go and get a $1 chip for the collection, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
At the very least. So you want to jump in the next one?
No, so I want to know what do you look forward to moving forward as far as poker in Florida?
If I had to choose, a couple of things that I want poker to look forward to, or what I look forward to in poker, without copying your answer, because I definitely want to see some live streams. Like, it'd be cool if the Hard Rock had a live stream consistently and we could see the Waddles and whatnot. Shout out to Waddle, being in these poker games. But I would probably say, I would like to see the World Series of Poker circuit events be outside of the Palm Beach Kennel Club. I would like to see them up here in Tampa, even in Daytona, because Daytona can run some really good large tournaments. And I think for me, it's just one, the driving down there, and two, we're so far away from Vegas. It would be really cool for us to have World Series of Poker ring events that we can go to often. So I would like to see them add more stops on their tour. I've always thought it's really interesting for them to hold it at the Palm Beach Kennel, because you have all those other rooms down there. I don't understand why they would have it there, but
the reason is they have a contract with Caesar, the WSOP. So that's a Caesar-owned casino. Before it was the Owls. So all that's owned by Caesar. So they stick into the contract they had.
That makes sense. Well, yeah, now you got the Harris Pompano Beach or whatever it's renamed to. So that makes perfect sense. And I forgot about that. Yeah, because now they moved from the Rio over to the Horseshoe and the Paris, which is all owned by Caesar's property. So that is a very good point. I mean, hopefully, someone like Daytona Card Room or Hard Rock or someone. I mean, the thing is, Hard Rock's associated with WPT, so it's kind of hard to say. But I would love to see someone maybe purchase the rights to be able to host those tournaments, because it would be pretty cool to be able to go to Daytona and say, yo, I'm going to play in the ring events, yada, yada. Outside of that, I would say, I think just more tournaments in general, because we have really good cash games at Orange City. We just don't get the frequency of tournaments over here. We could do cash games all year long, Another
thing I want to see, since gambling has been legalized, as far as you can by the Seminole tribe and stuff like that, and more poker rooms are coming up, I want them to build a poker room not right next to Disney, close to Disney, kind of like the Kissimmee, Orlando area. I feel like they would draw so much.
So I thought that. I like the idea of it being about 30 minutes away.
And it's using ESPN Bet too, so it's like.
Well, now, like you said, now that Disney, maybe not so much Disney, but now that ESPN owned by Disney, obviously has such a hand in sports betting and lines and whatnot. I mean, they literally have a page on their webpage now dedicated to betting. I wouldn't be surprised if that's in the cards down the line. At least, let's be real. Disney has kept gambling away from Orlando. Yeah. Like they'll put whatever money they have to put down to make it not come here. So I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we do see that. I think I've always been okay with poker being about 30, 35 minutes. I think maybe the accessibility might be a little too much. You got a little bit too much time on your hands out. You find yourself in the card room. But that would definitely be a game changer. If Orlando ever got a card room or a casino or anything, you already know it's going to be on Disney property, and it's going to be a Disney-run, funded venture. And I think that'll be interesting.
If not, make it on Universal property.
Disney ain't gonna allow it. Disney, if Disney is allowing Universal to get a casino, it's because Disney's already had one for 10 years.
Another honorable shout out to Poker Rooms, Best Bet in Jacksonville. Not the greatest, but it still brings decent action. They host some pretty good tournaments. I like the fact that they host, how can I say, kind of like the satellite. They give away like a World Series of Poker seed and stuff like that. That's a big shout out there to Best Bet in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Best Bet in Jacksonville. For sure. Good room. Very random location. It looks like it's an old supermarket. And when you walk in there, there's just a ton of wasted space.
Yeah.
But run a big tournaments. A lot of big tournaments. Our buddy Campos plays there pretty often. That Orange Park are pretty much his home rooms in terms of tournaments outside of Daytona. So well-run rooms in general. All about rooms that are able to run a large tournament. So.
And then speaking of growth, let's talk about the new poker room that Venetian is going to come up with. It's coming to Las Vegas. So Venetian Poker announced that they're opening a new poker room. This poker room will move to the second level of the Grand Canal Shops. The room will go from 35 tables to 50 tables and will be set in a 14,000 square foot space. Key features will have dedicated bathroom, soft service fountain drinking coffee station, which is pretty cool. That way you don't have to wait 40 minutes for your server to come back. USB chargers at every seat, which now that's like the gold thing everybody has. Online food ordering at your seat and sports betting kiosks, which is a must for Vegas. And then due to the room being on the second floor, it's easy to get to the self-parking garage. I guess that's more for locals, personally, because usually when we go, we just walk, so it doesn't matter.
We come right through from the Las Vegas Strip, so.
And then the rumor has it that they're gonna dedicate a streaming room, so for live streams. So that's pretty sick.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I think the key feature there for me is obviously a larger room. The Venetian runs plenty of tournaments now. I don't think their old room was a detriment in terms of running tournaments, because when we went for the Deep Stacks extravaganza, whatever, they run that down. They run that in their conference rooms, in their ballroom space. So if they ever need to run big tournaments, they can run them. But obviously, going from 35 to 50 tables is huge. I mean, 35. for people in Vegas, it's probably a lot. For us, we're used to seeing 40 and 50 poker room tables, and here in Florida. So we're a little bit blessed in that sense. 14,000 square feet is obviously a large room. I think the biggest draw here is the option for the streaming room they're going to have, right? Like all those players, when you think of the biggest poker rooms in Vegas and you think of the largest vloggers and content creators, right? Like, let's be real. For a cash game, they're probably not going to the Venetian. The room plays big, but they're going to probably the Bellagio. They're going to the Wynn, especially, and Aria. Those are the three big ones, right? So, you take out the fact that, or you add in the fact that now the Venetian can run big games, but they can probably help support, whatever equipment you want to bring. They're streamer friendly because not all rooms are streamer friendly. And then they can just run streamer based games with cameras that are being streamed on their Twitch and their YouTubes. I mean, it takes the room from, the Venetian, a cool place to play, to now almost like a destination. Like, if we're going to go, we got to go check out the streaming room. Just like when you go to Live at the Bike, you walk by that room with the glass windows and you know that a game's being streamed there. So it definitely elevates the poker room and the poker scene in Vegas.
Yeah, so I think Venetian, it's doing something amazing. So I look at it as far as if I'm running the property. If I'm running the property, I can take poker tables out from the main floor, move them to the second floor, right? That clears up space so you can put more slots, more craft table, more roulette tables, more revenue for the casino. You move them to the second floor, which a lot of poker players now are used to having their own poker rooms at these new casinos making poker rooms just for poker. The only thing I hope is that we can still see like the decor of the Venetian, because when you sit down playing at the Venetian now, you can see all the decor, and it's a really nice hotel. So hopefully it's not just like a conference room and they just put tables in there with a few little decorations here and there. And that streamer room is going to be amazing because then you can see the live stream going on too. And then if you got these poker players that are just getting into poker, they see these live streams. I remember when I was starting into poker, you see these high stakes. They're playing at the Binions. They're playing at the Golden Nugget. And you're just like, I want to go there. And then when you go there, you realize years down that it was a dump, but the stream was there, so it's like iconic. So I feel like this is a big step for Venetian poker.
And Hector mentioned something in the chat. He says streaming room's cool. Venetian property feels huge, but then the poker room is run down, dated, and it needs a big facelift. No, 100%. I mean, it's. I've always thought the Venetian poker room was kind of awkwardly placed, right? Like you have all these slots. You got like the sports room. You've got the Baccarat little arena, which we're not going to get into what happened there one day. And then you've got like, the poker room. It's like slanted wall in a corner, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. So being in its own dedicated space is important. In my opinion, the biggest selling feature for me for the new Venetian poker room is going to be the fact that like if it's secluded from every other casino or gambling space. That's the thing I love about Orange City. That's the thing I love about Hard Rock Tampa. Is that the fact that these rooms are off of the regular gaming floor. So if you want to go, you don't want to have these distractions. You want to just go and play poker and leave, and you don't got to walk by 20 blackjack tables, hundreds of slots. It just allows for easy access in and out. And the fact that, like it mentioned, that the self-parking is nearby is nice. Me personally, I like to avoid those distractions. It only just gets me in trouble. So I think that's a big plus. Having a poker room dedicated to the poker players, and in the long run, I think it's just going to benefit them that much more.
And hopefully they do kind of like what Hard Rock Tampa did. They put TVs everywhere. You can watch your sports games. You can watch football. You can watch basketball. Any live games going on as well too. Especially they're going to have a kiosk for betting as well too. So big shout out to Venetian. Can't wait for that poker room to open. And I also, every time I play in the Venetian, I run good too. So I love the Venetian poker room.
So, with that said, is there any poker rooms in Vegas that you haven't played in that you want to play in? Well, let's put it this way. What is the first poker room you played in Vegas, and what room have you not gone to that you would love to play in?
Okay, so I really don't remember the first room I played in Vegas. I think
it's the same room I played in. It's got to be because we were there. The Mirage.
I believe so.
Yeah, it was the Mirage.
I wasn't sure if they actually had a poker room because I know we played a lot of crabs that day.
Yeah,
And we were drinking a lot too, so that's my memory.
We made a
wasn't
lot of
too
money in
good.
craps, though. We were
Yeah.
making a lot of money.
But yeah, that one,
Oh, God.
the Aria that I played in was pretty good. The Win is real nice. The one I want to play in, it's a new poker room, maybe a few years old already. I went to the hotel, walked around with my wife and stuff like that about 2 years ago. It's a Resort World. They have a poker room. It's small. And I don't know how good the games are anymore. I know in the beginning they were pretty good, but that's one of the casinos I want to go to. It's the Resort World Poker Room. The Wynn has a good one that I played at. Aria is great. The Mirage. I played at Planet Hollywood before they shut that down too. The Harrows was a dump too. I played at. The Caesar's a dump too, but you gotta get that tourist vibe at the Caesar. You know, if you want to have a good time, you put a few $100 on sports betting. You play some poker while you watch the game. Get some free drinks. Caesar's pretty good. Obviously, we both played at the Bellagio, which is it's such an iconic room, and it's just like it could be small, it could be like, you know, because sometimes at Bellagio the games are not that good. You got all these pros and stuff like that are sitting there and super tight. So that's why I prefer to play at the Venetian, but just the room being so iconic. So I say the one I want to play at as a Resort World I didn't play at, and the best room for me that I play at is the Bellagio.
Yeah, I think definitely first room Mirage. Hector had mentioned in the chat that the Mirage was a little bit of letdown. Rounders told him that was the mecca of poker. Yeah, I don't know. For me, you know, the Mirage was a letdown at the end of the day. You know, I think when we sat down in the Mirage, we sat at a new table, and I think me, you, Gufu, we're all at the same table. And, you know, we're Vegas, you know, I think we were just playing a 1-2 game anyway, so it wasn't like we were gambling a ton. But yeah, that was a little bit of a letdown in terms of, you know, I was expecting the room to be bursting, right? Bursting. And then we got the room that I've never been to that I haven't played in. So we, you know, played in, you know, Aria, Bellagio. I think we've played in pretty much almost every room on the Strip. Could have played at Resorts World, but didn't want to bother going over there. I've heard mixed things, so I didn't really care to go. I think the one I haven't played in is MGM Grand. I've walked by it multiple times, but it's such a rinky-dinky room, so I didn't really care to go play in it.
The one I heard games are good, casinos not that good, is Red Rock, right? Is it Red Rock?
Yeah.
Outside the Strip, so that's one. I forgot, play at the Golden Nugget, the Binions, which is another one in Fremont Street that has a poker room. I pretty much played in a lot of those.
Yeah, I played at Golden Nugget. I don't remember playing it. I thought Binions took out their poker room like a while back, but could be wrong. But I know that's like where the original WSOP was originally ran. One room, like, and you know, we'll have a segment. We'll make sure Hector's on where we talk about like, you know, our favorite poker rooms, and we'll kind of get more in depth as to why. But one room that Hector said, Wynn and Caesars are my favorite, and honorable mentions Planet Hollywood. Planet Hollywood is awesome. Yeah, Planet Hollywood was good before they got rid of Planet Hollywood's poker room.
So I went right before they shut it down, and it was like 6 tables, and there was only 2 tables going, and it was both 2 1-2 games. That's it.
Yeah, I remember when I think it was the very first trip we went. I think weren't you guys playing like in a random? You and Goofer were playing like in a random tournament or something, right?
Oh yeah, and Planet Hollywood. Yeah, it was like 8 tables. That's it.
They jumped into like a random like daily, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna go eat some Earl sandwich, and they're running a poker. I was so hungry, but it was a pathetic room, but there's a lot of action for their cash games.
And this was right after COVID, so it was just like Vegas was kind of slow, and they started transition to this electronic blackjack. They would have like a DJ live with one person dealing the cards, and you can bet on the electronic ones as well too. Yeah. But they went away from Planet Hollywood, which Planet Hollywood for me is one of the most underrated locations. Yeah, it's like right in the middle.
Oh no, it's great.
It's
I wish, and especially being a Caesars property, I kind of wish that WSOP kind of did more stuff there. But you know, it is what it is. Wynn and Caesars, obviously, Wynn is iconic in its own right. The room there is probably one of the best rooms, if not the best room in Vegas. Caesars to me was kind of a letdown, to be honest. I didn't really care for Caesars poker that much. It's cool to be right next to the sports book, but Caesar's poker room was just okay. But the room that I haven't played in is MGM Grand. But if I had to pick a room that's not always there that I really liked, kind of random, was not their normal poker room, but the Rio during the series, their cash games. To me, I love it. I know a lot of poker players are mixed about it. They'd rather go to the actual strip and get on the list for Aria, the Bellagio, whatever the case may be. I love playing cash games at the Rio. I don't think there's anything better than 1,000 people getting busted from tournaments and they're filling in the cash games on absolute tilt. That is to me awesome because the dealers, whole nother story. We could talk about them another day. Whole nother story. The dealers are absolutely trash, but I absolutely love, those people coming in right away, 3-4 buy-ins because they're trying to double up and make back the 5K that they just lost.
And then personally, when I play cash games at the Rio, not only are these players tilted from busting a tournament, but you get a lot of drunk people as well too. There was a few times at the table, there was like 2 or 3 people on each table that were hammered. Because obviously, you play poker in Vegas, the drinks are free. So they start taking a shot here, taking a shot there, drinking. So the games run a lot better. A lot of people are just like, that's a lot of pros, so the games probably don't run good. There's a lot of tournament players. But it's the opposite. I think they run really good. I feel like the Bellagio during the series is a little bit tighter. The games are much harder.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the Bellagio, I think they're going to increase their stakes, or they already have. But and again, we can get into these specific poker rooms another day. But the Bellagio's stakes are very low compared to the Venetian and the Wynn. I mean, you're talking when I played 510, I think the max buy-in for 510 was 1,000 or 1,500 or something like that. That's nothing. There's 2 5 games here in Florida that run that big. I remember I told you, right? I was sitting at my table. I had 6 Europeans at my table that were tight as heck, and I couldn't make a dime. So ended up flopping a set, which I always do against some kid, and made some money. But it's, cash games in general during the series are very tough. Obviously, you got a lot of pros in town from all over the world, but outside of being an iconic poker room that the Bellagio is, I've never really cared too much about the actual action that the Bellagio sees. So let's see. So kind of segueing into our last topic here. So, that Venetian poker room and poker rooms in general, construction wise and stuff, is not a cheap venture, right? And we know how important it is to the Venetian property to see the return on investment eventually, right? But speaking of cheap, or not cheap, I should say, is the $1 million poker game that just got announced. So Hustler Casino Live said that they're gonna be coming back with the $1 million poker game that's coming back May 28th to 31st. We all know what happened the last time this game ran. Wesley and Tom DeWan got into the largest poker hand ever televised, 3.1 million. I really wanted to put a clip of that on the stream, but it would have took a solid 5 minutes of just the action and then the aftermath that took place after that. So, but we already talked about in detail about the Hustler stream in general. But early commitments at Alan Keating, Santosh, Peter, Tony G, who is an OG, Brandon Steven, Doug Polk, and of course Nick Airball. He's of course going to get involved. So, what are your thoughts on the initial people that they've announced? Obviously, they're going to have more people in the rotation as people bust out. But are you surprised? What are your thoughts on $1 million game? And is it a good thing for poker?
It's an awesome thing for poker. $1 million game is something that I would like to see on high stakes poker, which that's another topic there, as far as them going from high stakes to pretty much not high stakes, personally. It's great. The last game the streams are going crazy. I think 50K, 60K plus people watching it. The people involved in it, Alex Keating, he's good. Santosh is a gambler. Peter, Tony G, Brandon Stevens, Doug Polk. Personally, I won't throw the stream without Wesley and Tom Dwan at the same table. Hustler, you got to call Wesley and tell him, hey, Wesley, you got to get your get back. You need to be at this game. And then Tom Dwan, since he won the hand, he has to defend. So you got to get those two. Those got to be your first 2 guys to start off the stream. Nick Airball, he's a gambler. He gives a lot of action, so a lot of people like to see him. I don't know, man. I feel like they need 1 or 2 more heavy hitters. Maybe Andrew Robo. He's real good in high stakes in these big cash games. So if they can get Andrew Robo on too, that'd be good. I don't know if they want him because he runs amazing on high stakes. So
Yeah, he's literally was running hot. He's the only one that was winning hands on the first episode last week.
he don't lose in high stakes. So man, I would like to see an Ivy as well too. Just get another big personality. Negrano, you got to invite these guys.
Yeah.
Just like the cream of the crop in poker. Doug Polk, okay. I don't know how, like Doug Polk, he talks a lot, like as far as like his vlogs and stuff like that. He's a great heads up player. But personally, I like to see somebody that gives a little bit more action than Doug Polk.
Yeah.
And nothing against Doug Polk, but I feel like this $1 million game, I want to see more gamblers. I don't want to see too tight play, personally. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if we're going to be watching a $1 million game, I mean, I was not extremely impressed with the lineup that originally came out. I did like Doug Polk on there just because I would like to see him in, a larger game and to see exactly how he's, he kind of lives up to, the competition, I guess you can say. Andrew Robles, someone I would love to see on there, especially seeing him on the high stakes. And he just seems to always run good at those stakes, man. It's crazy. Obviously, Nick Airball. But I agree. Like, I don't think you can do this without a Tom Dwan and whatnot. Now, I know this is the early commitments that came along. So, I think at the end of the day, I would like to see what you said, more gamblers. I'm trying to see people that are, 4, 5, 6 betting, put in some pressure, applying the pressure. I don't know the last time we saw Danny Negreanu actually play a cash game live. I couldn't even tell you. I don't know. I think he's staying away from cash for the most part. He's playing a lot more tournaments, but yeah, bring those heavy hitters on, man. Bring the heavy hitters on. Let's go back to the Poker After Dark days and, bring some of those guys on if we have to. I think that'd be really good for the game, really good for the viewership. Obviously, it's really easy for us to say the lineup needs to be better when there's $1 million buy-in. So, it's easy for us as viewers, but would definitely like to see people that I know are going to spice up the stream and keep it interesting because honestly, on its surface, I'll probably catch it just for the content, but initially with that lineup, I'm not that too impressed. $500,000 blinds, obviously $1 million buy-in, inevitable straddles, restraddles, which definitely make the game bigger than it already is. Poker Go just recently launched a $1 million game as well. I think Robo may have been on that game. I know. I think Jason Kuhn was on that game. So we talked about how it's good for poker. What do you think is the impression when people outside of poker, right? People outside of poker, what do you think their impression is when they see these $1 million games? I mean, do you think that's good for poker, or does that kind of put poker in a bad light?
Well, that's a kind of like tough question there, personally, because if I don't know anything about poker and I see these people gambling with $1 million, right, and the pots are $300,000-$400,000, like say $250,000 switching hands constantly, I'm looking at it like, man, that's too high for me. Like, that's too much money. These guys are crazy, right? Then all of a sudden get away from the game. Or I can be like, how do they get this money? And what can I do to get that money? So it's hit or miss there on that one. That's hard to say because you got to put yourself in a person's point of view for somebody that never watched the game. For us, personally, I like to see bigger pots, more action. And another thing I would love to see on this $1 million stream is, and on high stakes, don't run it twice. Run it once. If you're doing these live streams, televising it and stuff like that for that 1 day, 2 days, we want to see pain, personally. Like, I know it's a lot of money, and they want to run it twice, see if they can chop it. But as a fan, I want to see pain. I want to see people suffer and lose, personally. Obviously, there's always a winner on the other side, so you got to think about it like that. But I feel like if you run it once and you get a winner and a loser instead of a chop pot, it's so much better for TV. Because sometimes these streams be posting, 2 guys got into it for $500,000, right? And then you look at the stream and they chopped it. So it's just like it's like it doesn't. For me, I want to see one person win. Hey, $250,000. Like that one time, Tom Dwan and Greenstein. Tom was on a flush draw and Greenstein had pocket aces, and then Greenstar wanted to take some money back, but he only wanted to run it once. And then Tom Dwan said, no, like, if you don't want to run it twice, then we're not running it. And then all of a sudden, Tom Dwan hit, and the guy lost all his money. So you can see the pain, the frustration. So that's kind of like what I want to see on these streams. If you have $1 million, you want to gamble it, we want to see win or lose. We don't want to see chop pots.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you said it best as far as, like, running it, one time, right? Like, in these types of games, screw running it twice. If you're playing in $1 million game, you are there to gamble, and you're not gambling if you're trying to run it twice. No, just keep the equities where they are. One board, one turn, one river, and call it what it is. So, I think from an outside perspective from what a $1 million game looks like. My only concern is that to someone that's new to poker or someone that may know nothing about poker but may have some sort of interest is that's very unrealistic. Let's be real, right? $1 million buy-in game is very unrealistic. I think from an entertainment factor, obviously it's awesome, right? Especially as viewers and poker players ourselves. But I think it could be very unrealistic. And I know what goes through those people's head. It's like, oh, it's probably not their own money and this and that. And I'm sure it's 100% their money. They probably got some backers. They probably got some people that got some stakes in them. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's an unrealistic look for poker. I don't mind it because, that game doesn't appeal to them. It's not meant for them. But I think in terms of like growing poker and whatnot, it may not necessarily be a positive thing. But again, it's a give and take, right? It's not meant for the beginner anyway. So,
what I do want to see is this $1 million game. Get like these poker personality that are marketing poker, like your Kevin Hart or something. Get them to participate in this $1 million game. Get like 2 or 3 of them. Like before on high stakes, they had the owner of the Lakers, they had the owner of Cirque du Soleil, all those guys as well too. Get 2 or 3 guys like that in the lineup, mix it up. Guys that aren't scared to lose $1 million because they got so much money, and that are not pro poker players but know the game. To see if these pro poker players will try to outplay them, try to bluff them, see if they can get one by. Personally, I think you need to get a mix of not just poker players but gamblers as well too in this $1 million game.
I'd be interested to know if they're getting paid to be on this stream. And the reason for that is because I know like Jamie Gold and Negreanu have said in the past on high stakes poker. Now, granted, that's an entire series and a season. They were getting paid to be there, and they were getting paid decent amount. They're obviously staking themselves or whatever, but they got paid regardless to be on the show. So there's got to be hopefully some sort of incentive for these guys to be on this show, because I'd be afraid that if there isn't an incentive, that could be why we're not getting the best lineup that we could possibly get right now. So hopefully that changes. So that is our last topic, or so you thought. We are going to go into one additional topic that Ice doesn't know about just yet. Once I found out that it was just going to be me and Ice on today's stream, there was a reason why I didn't post the bad beat publicly this past week. It's because there's a bad beat that I wanted to get into that's very near and dear to my heart. And once I saw that it was just me and Ice on today's stream, I knew that I needed to cover it during today's stream. So this bad beat right here. This bad beat right here. I'll let you. If you need me to go into the action itself, I don't mind.
I'll let you go into the action.
I remember very vividly what took place here. This was that's obviously me in this hands here. This is from the 2017 WSOP $1,500 shootout. For those of you that don't know what a shootout is, you essentially have to win your table. You don't advance to the next day until you beat 9 other people sitting at your table. Probably one of the more unique tournaments that are being run at the WSOP. If you're really good at a single table type of setting, which I'd like to think I am because of the number of smaller tournaments we play, like house games and stuff. It kind of suits some of my skills as well as the cash game aspect of it as well. But long story short, day one, we go into day 2. We are 3-handed. I am on the button. I raise it up. I essentially get 3-bet by Robert Kuhn. Or I end up shoving on Robert Kuhn with a ace-9 suited versus, Robert Kuhn's pocket sixes. And you can essentially see right there what ends up happening. I spike a 9 on the flop with 1 heart, backdoor hearts, which then puts me at like a 90% chance to win the game or win the hand. The turn is a jack of hearts, which then puts me at a 98% favorite to win this hand. And then, and also, it eliminates one of his outs because if the 6 of hearts comes out, I get my flush. And then the most deadly card I've ever seen in my life comes out. The 6 of clubs comes out. The case 6. My heart nearly stops for a solid minute there. And then I'm eliminated. I think I had about 120, 130,000 at that point. I would have doubled up through Robert. Just honestly going through it, and I don't think we ever actually talked about this in general. Like, that was up and down there for like the last 10, 15 hands because I made it 4-handed when I had my aces hold up not hold up, but dominate Jimmy Capucci's kings. He had pocket kings. And I flopped an ace on the flop, and it actually almost ran out quads, and we would end up splitting the pot, which would have been sick. But I ended up taking like a dominating chip lead at that point, going into it 3-handed. 2 hands later, we go on a break. 2 hands later from break, I'm playing Chris Brand, and I have pocket 10s versus his pocket kings or whatever it is, and then he doubles up through me. So I was sitting pretty nice. Thankfully, he didn't have a ton of chips, didn't have me covered. I go down to like 120, 130, and then I run into this hand. So we're talking about 10 to 15 hands or so. I mean, going from 4-handed to 3-handed, tons and tons of Hector says not the case 6. What are you talking about, Hector? That is the last 6 in the deck, essentially. If the 6 of hearts comes out, he loses. So I don't know. Unless you're referring to because the 6 of hearts is out there, the 6 of clubs isn't the case 6, but he has 1 out to win that hand. That's it. He has just over a 2% chance to win that hand. So I've run that hand in my head, Hector, about 20 times every other day. But yeah, I mean, you were there. You got to see it. In general, right? Like, what were your thoughts on the shootout, your first WSOP experience, and this hand?
Well, that shootout, first of all, it was a tournament that we pretty much free rolled into.
Hector said it was more like, no, not the case 6, like a yell. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying it wasn't. I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, that shootout was actually a tournament that we free rolled into for the most part. Our degeneracy at Harrah's, we put 150 on a hard 8. We rushed from there to the Rio, bought it. I actually played in there as well, too. I got eliminated day 1. I had ace-king, flopped the king. The guy was on a flush draw. He hit his flush. He won day 1. Day 2, he played against Robert Kuhn, got eliminated. And it was rough because that was, another, was it $16,000 swing? You would have won that table, something like that. You would have jumped up 16 grand as well too.
Yeah, I mean, that was if I win that hand, I take a very dominating chip lead, 3-handed. Chris Brand was already running decently low on chips, and we're talking a $4,000 payday to $16K plus, and then I'm in the final 12 to play for over 200,000.
And then back then, and even to this day, I don't really keep up with too many pro players. But then you sit down at these tournaments and you go online and you check who you play with and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, this guy got $4 or $5 million in tournament earnings. This guy's $12 million. This guy got 3 bracelets, 2 bracelets. So you sit down and you start, in the time you're there, sometimes you outplay these pro guys as well too. So it makes you feel good. Like, okay, now I can be part of this as well too. So that was a big thing as well too. I felt from that tournament, just seeing you go to day 2, play with Robert Kuhn, and pretty much that case 6 didn't come out, you'd be taking that table down as well too. So that was good as far as confident wise for us as poker players.
Yeah, at the end of day 1, I looked back at who was at my table from day 1, and Peter Eichhardt was at my table. He has a bracelet. I think he was the only bracelet at that time, but there was one other guy that had $1 million in earnings. And then on day 2, when they gave us the seating assignments, Daniel Strelitz was at my table, and there was one other person. So I think there was 2 people with $1 million in earnings. And then you got Robert Kuhn, Jimmy Capucci, and whatnot. And I always say, like, I don't feel bad for Jimmy Capucci, even though he ran his kings into my aces, because I think 2 or 3 days later, he made almost $200,000 in an 888 tournament. So he was chilling. I ain't worried about that. But yeah, overall, great experience. Can't wait to go back there. And I think you said it best. We left that tournament knowing we can hang with those players, which I think we always felt we could, but it definitely gave us that little bit of extra confidence that we were looking for in validation. So, all right, so that is gonna wrap up today's stream. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Me and Ice were holding it down. Hopefully next week we get Fernando and Hector back. Couple announcements. We are going to have essentially like a guest series that's going to start end of March. Got 2 people lined up right now, and then a couple other people in conversations to potentially bring on. So really excited about that. It'll kind of be a little bit about them, getting a little bit of insight as to their background in poker, and then we'll just be jumping into fun topics. And then, as you said, we're every Monday, 9 p.m. We are here, Twitch, YouTube, Kick. I will be posting another bad beat this upcoming Friday. Please interact with these posts. I know a lot of you guys are sending DMs, which we appreciate, but don't be afraid to post publicly. The more interaction we get from you guys, the more the chat gets lively, and the more we'll be able to feature you guys on the stream.
Follow us, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Comment whether you like our takes, whether you don't. Talk shit in the chat. We don't care. Personally, I don't. So I like when people talk shit, whether you like my takes or not. Just interact with us. We really appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. So that's going to end it. We'll see you guys next Monday. Have a good one.